Welcome to Eat, Pray, Brittany.
Hello, everyone.
We are here with a very, very special episode. I have never been this excited since we've done the show, or since we started the show. Lisa, do you want to introduce our very special guests?
We have the pleasure of being joined today by Tess and Babs of formerly Brittany's Graham and currently of Toxic, the podcast. Welcome to our show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi guys, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here.
This is going to have such, like, you're at a wedding, you go to the ladies' room, you meet some friends, suddenly you wake up the next day and there are strangers in your camera roll that have kind of taken over.
I missed that. That's one of the things I definitely missed about going out during the pandemic is just the like bonds in bathrooms.
Good bathroom hang. Love a bathroom hang.
Like, so I hope that's the energy we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, compliments top to bottom. We just talked about how you're the first people to see us. I am sort of just realizing that I have a New Jersey state flag behind me and I'm wearing a Yankee shirt. So we are stereotyping the East Coast. So hardcore.
It was a "Don't tread on me" flag for a second. I was like, uh-oh.
Wow.
It is. It's the original.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the OG.
Yeah.
When it used to stand for something good and not something what it is now.
Right.
That's good. I didn't know that. So, I'm learning.
So we've been listening to the new Toxic podcast. We love it. I think I've already listened to every episode 3 or 4 times. You just released episode 3 as of the time of this recording. And I think that, like, one of the things we wanted to just sort of start by asking is just if you guys are doing okay, because we know.
Thank you for asking.
It feels like Meghan Markle. Like, nobody has asked.
No, we
want to know.
We knew that this would be a good like talk because we knew you guys would ask like different questions than what we've been getting, and for sure no one's asked that. So thank you.
But
we're surviving. Okay? Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, we're okay. I mean, it's a fucking roller coaster. That's all I can say. It's like, at being in this movement, being a Britney fan in itself is a roller coaster, and it has been, especially the last few years. We all know that. But I think being this in the middle of it is extremely hard.
Yeah, because I feel like for all of us, these last really couple months, but especially obviously the last 2 weeks have been like this just insanely, we're all just riding this crazy adrenaline high. Like, you just feel whiplashed. It's like an emotional roller coaster. It's exciting. It's scary. It's so many things. And then on top of that, we're like actively working on a thing about what's going on. So like, in addition to processing that, it's like, okay, that means we have to edit that and that needs to change. Like, I kind of feel it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm just drinking a lot about it.
Go ahead.
No, we're drinking a lot of caffeine and we're trying to, we try to make sure we take days off when we can, but it's like pretty much impossible. There's just news every single day. So.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we've sort of talked about together is we've had this moment at the end of your 3rd episode. You talk a little bit about, that line between exploitation and wanting to be honest and get to a real truth. And I'm sure for the both of you being at the center of the Free Britney viral movement, there's probably been a lot of weighing of risk and reward. And it has seemed like you guys have taken some real risks in what you're doing. And I know that you've been accused of seeing a lot of rewards, although it does not seem like the most accurate description. So would you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, that's totally accurate. I would say that's so much. And I think that's kind of part of what has made this. I've never been through anything like this in my life. Like, it is crazy to just be constantly having to make those kind of like decisions all the time. And, even the decision to include Jason in the show was a big risk reward thing. It was like, for Britney fans, we know the reasons why that would be a controversial choice to make, but it was like, ultimately we felt like he is the person Britney Spears first married, and his experience with her, we think really did kind of show the roots of the kind of control that we're still to this day. So like, we ultimately felt like, we should include this. So yeah, it's like, it's a ton of shit like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard decision making, because we're fans and we want to represent everything, in the right way, but also we're the show is called Toxic for a reason. And that's because she's been surrounded by toxic people. And you have to, if you have the opportunity to talk to one of those people, you have to kind of take it, you know, no matter who they are. So it's like, it just is, as reporters, that's like what we're also doing. But yeah, it's like talking about just, we've weighed it so many times. I mean, the last few years has been some of the hardest years, I don't know, I think of our lives, just because of the constant, like, oh God, are we doing the right thing? And feeling gaslit from the world. And then like seeming like people, you know, just the Free Britney movement itself getting divided and stuff like that. And you're kind of like, okay. And you're trying to just put your head down. And there's been a lot of things we haven't said because we've just wanted to be professional and not, you know, address certain bullshit. So we're like, we've just kept our head down most of the time and been like, fuck it. Like, we're just going to keep working. That's all we can do, you know, because it's not worth getting into all this like side drama and shit. So yeah, we've just kind of, like we said in the show, it's been very hard, but we got multiple messages to keep going and we decided to make that choice. And
yeah,
it's been an extremely hard road.
A lot of people couldn't, I mean, okay, like there were things like, if we were paying attention, you guys, how do you even explain to an outsider, like, yeah, 4 days after that 2019 hearing, TMZ broke a story about how she told the court what was exactly going on, but usually we don't think TMZ is a credible source, but this clearly was a real leak. So like to us, we got, and then like we had been talking to people and had all this information on background that also corroborated that stuff, you know? So it was like this really heavy weight to be carrying around where, yeah, I understand if you're an outsider just looking at the situation, and not to say that even with that information, we knew everything that was going on, but it was enough of a disturbing truth to be like, well, this can't stand. Like this can't go on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that I've had a really hard time like balancing like the reality of it versus the fact that it sounds like too far-fetched fiction. Like Britney is living a spy drama behind the scenes somehow. And that's coming more into focus right now where she's trying to smuggle cell phones so she can get an attorney. Like she's not trying to do anything bad. She's been trying these, like leaving notes with friends to read out loud. And I've been following this for over a decade with Lisa, and we did not think this could get scarier or worse somehow. And in the last, I would say maybe like 4 months, it's gotten even more intense with the information that's come out.
When did you guys start to become aware of like what was going on?
Well, we were college roommates and we followed along like as she was being put in the conservatorship in 2008.
Wow.
And like all of the stories at that time. And we watched For the Record together. Like I think we were like a month into our fall semester. Wow. At that time we watched it together and we were like, Britney's a prisoner person. Like we have to, because we always used to say in 2007, like we should just fly out to LA and like it doesn't seem that hard to like meet her and we could just like have her come back to our dorm with us and just like chill here for a little bit, and we know she loves New York City, and like we could just like help her just like chill for a second because it seems like she needs a break. And then like in 2008 we're like, we didn't get her, and like now she's trapped and we should have gone and gotten her.
Oh my God, this is your guys' time machine movie. Like for real, if you go back in time,
and find cousin Allie at like a CVS and we're like, hey, we have Cheetos, we can come over later, and she's like, cool. And then we do, and then we all catch a plane, like a red eye back to New York, and like
alter the
helps us do our homework. Yeah. Yes. And like we go down the shore and then she just like lives a totally different life. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, it's like
for a long time, I would tell people that For the Record is my favorite movie, and it still is one of my favorite movies. And like it was like crazy because the only way to show it to people is there was like one link on YouTube that was like had Portuguese subtitles. Like it was so hard to find, but like that movie, the direction in that movie, like that director was telling us everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In a really honest and creepy way where the fact that you can't get it like the original on DVD anymore, I think is scary. You can't get like the full length cut, which had all of those extra scenes of her being allowed to drive, because they gave that to MTV, and it's just like
they were showing their hands so much. Like,
but it's like crazy because Larry was a fucking EP on that. So that director got that past Larry. How?
I think it's because the narrative back then was so in the like, she needs this. So even straight in front of our face that much, it was still people being like, yeah, okay, Brittany doesn't drive. You know, it wasn't like people just were not thinking about it in the correct terms.
I mean, I guess going off of that, so Jacqueline kind of mentioned this too. So you guys were really the igniters of the viral part of the Free Britney movement in 2019. And since then, this has taken so many twists and turns. And just as we kind of talk about like Britney losing control of like, you know, Britney the person is no longer, it's Britney the brand and all of this stuff, like Free Britney became this thing that you didn't have control over, even though, you know, you were a key part in getting everyone to really pay attention to it. And even like the pink Free Britney, you know, thing that like, did you ever think when you made that, Babs, that Donatello would be putting that in?
That was wild.
Like, what? But
Donatella Versace sharing like some fucking Photoshop I made in like 5 minutes.
But going off of that, like, what would you say are kind of some of those most surreal moments of like the last 2 years? Like, I'm sure, because we've gotten this question and I can't even imagine what this feels like for you. When Britney was speaking a couple of weeks ago, like, was that like gratifying in a way, even though it's kind of fucked up to say that because of the horrible things that she was having to recount, you know, on this world stage to get people to believe her? Like, what are some of those most surreal moments in the last 2 years, but also going all the way back to 2008 and stuff like For the Record, where now you're like, oh my God, the writing was on the wall. They put it right out there for us.
I mean, definitely like for me, the first time I saw that, like, you know, the California Assembly people who were like, that guy who gave that speech, giving all like Britney puns and like talking about actual legislation being passed about actual conservatorship reform. It's like, how often are you part of something or like wish something would change and then it actually turns into like tangible, actionable change, you know? So that was like a really surreal moment because I remember, you know, like I talked about it in Toxic, but like when I was very first kind of getting really interested in Britney's situation, calling the National Association for Guardian Abuse. And it was like this lady, Elaine, that she's so sweet, just like at her house, just like talking to me. Like she didn't seem like she got calls very often at all. Like she seemed kind of surprised that somebody was calling to talk to her. So to think from like 2.5 years ago, like just having that conversation to now what a part of the national conversation this issue is, those moments like really blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many because it's still all very surreal. I don't know if I'll ever truly wrap my mind around it. I mean, what comes to mind is like we were, you know, before Britney spoke, originally the first episode was about a different hearing. And I just remember recording that day and like, you know, you go to the rallies and you see everybody. And I think there was one moment where it hit me just like, wow, this is like a community, you know, and just seeing like all these people who've made friendships and like found other people to relate to, that really hit me because, you know, just they all found each other through like believing in this thing, basically. And that was a really surreal moment. I was like, wow, like these people met because of, you know, this choice that we made or whatever. And so that was a really cool thing to think about. And like, seeing and along the same lines, like being at the hearing, you know, a few weeks ago when she spoke, because Tess was inside and I was outside, and watching everyone listen and watching the people who had been fighting so hard the last few years to get anyone to take them seriously, you know, I'm gonna freaking cry, but yeah. And just watching everybody, you know, watching Leanne, watching May, watching Junior, Kevin, like all these people who have just literally poured their entire lives into this thing get validated, even though it was, like you said, it was so hard to hear, but like that moment when Meg's like, she's doing it, was just like, holy shit, like, you know, watching that validated was incredibly surreal and amazing.
Yeah, I had that moment because it was still like COVID restrictions in the courtroom. So it was only like 5 or 6 people in there. And you saw all the fuck bag attorneys up on the Skype. So all you heard was like Britney's voice. And then, you know, what's her name? Lorianne Wright tries to close the courtroom and it's like, okay. And then the moment she interrupted, Sam Stark, who directed For Me, Britney Spears, was in front of me and she turned around and we both like, we had our masks on, but we were like you could tell exactly what both of our facial expressions were. And like, we were trying to be quiet in the courtroom, but it was just like, oh my God.
When I heard that on the audio feed, I really I felt like I lost my breath for a minute, because I had thought that she was going to come in with a very sort of legalese, scripted kind of approach. I didn't know what to expect. We'd heard she was preparing for it, but I didn't know what that meant. And I was glad to see that she felt a little bit more free and didn't have much coaching from an attorney, because I don't think she has a competent one. So obviously that wouldn't have done that much good. But I mean, I think that you both bring up some really interesting moments, because I feel like being in the movement kind of oscillates between these really real raw moments that you get when you hear someone like Brittany tell her story, and it just kind of brings you home to the center of like the core that this is like just a person who has been treated so unjustly. And then you get like the fucking like Fellini version. Like, it's just like watching like something that I literally don't even know what's happening here. I'm like in the middle of like you have the Monster Energy brand that has become omnipresent somehow in this story. Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
You have like a Jason Alexander and like a Perez Hilton. You have like the Billy B, like the warring makeup artists happening like on the side. You had mentioned, Babs, just like the warring factions kind of within Free Britney, and it has felt like a Ryan Murphy movie, or I can't really explan it. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I would watch the hell out of a Free Britney reality show, because there is plenty going on for TV there. Yeah, it's
I mean, I just feel like, first of all, I think part of it is a function of like, there's just so many people now who are interested in this. And so like, anytime you have a fuckload of people on the internet, there's going to be some people who suck. That's just the law of people on the internet. But also, when I think back to like Britney Spears has always been something that it's almost like my sports, like it's bonded me to other people. And I think like I can always usually get along with someone if they're a Britney Spears fan, because it means like you're kind of a freak, you're kind of laid back. You yourself have probably had a rumble with some Cheetos. Like, it kind of, I think she attracts like a certain kind of really cool people. But like, obviously within that, there are some really just flat out obnoxious people. But I think the kind of freak show aspect of Free Britney, I think is just really a projection of like, who's in Britney's army. It's us, the weirdos.
Yeah. And from our perspective, like I said, we just really had to like put blinders on at some point and try to like not pay attention to a lot of noise, because it's like, it doesn't really do you much good. It gets your adrenaline up, and everybody's addicted to this, like something has to be happening every second thing. And so I think that's where a lot of all this stuff comes from. And it's like, at the end of the day, you got to focus on like what, needs to be worked on, and try to like let the other stuff fall by the wayside.
I mean, the movement has been so giving though. I literally was looking at just like a short list of what's happened in the last 24 hours. And I don't know, Lisa and I do not do a good job of keeping up with it, because we are just like regularly a mess, right, Lisa? Lisa's is the one that is like very organized. She does like our outlines. She keeps track of all of the notes. And I just come in like I don't know, like a bull in a china shop. Like, I don't think we should do any of this, or like, I didn't have time to read any of the 15 articles or, the new court documents. Let's just wing it.
You kind of, I mean, it's very hard to keep up with, and like, we're trying to keep up, but we're also in production, so we are in a unique position, because like our show is 10 episodes. And originally when we were gonna, be putting it out, we had no idea that all this stuff would be happening like this, so we did have to totally redo the first episode and all this stuff. And we didn't know there was going to be so much updating, and like, okay, like this is what's actually happening now. And it's a whole different world for us. So it's kind of different, because our thing's like a, 10-part thing looking at everything. So it's not like the episode that comes out this week, is not about what's going on in our court date right now.
But like, like right now, like we're trying to stay abreast of like the current court things, but then we have our lawyers being like, I need you to tell me what document you got this random fact from. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that was the 7th accounting.
Yeah, they're like, has Jason Alexander talked about this in any other interviews? And just like, we're answering ridiculous questions of all the time. Our fact checker is always like sending us questions that we're like dying laughing at, because, it's just sometimes like a ridiculous thing to be working on. But Yeah, it's a lot of information. And I'm so grateful for the Free Britney movement for just, distilling that information, putting it out there, the lawyers who give their time, to like analyze everything. It's really cool.
I also feel like the Free Britney movement is so many like funny people. Like so many of the memes
Definitely.
and the tweets, they just kill me. I'm like, I can't even retweet all of them because some of them I just can't. But like, God, so funny.
Yeah.
No, they really are. Definitely the funniest cast of characters.
Yes.
Well, this isn't exactly breaking news now, but it sure was like a week ago. What was your initial reactions when you received a notification that Britney's gram had been tagged, and then when you saw who had tagged you? And what does it mean? Please explain to us what it means.
So go ahead.
So
my hairdresser told me first, and then Junior told us. But I got a text from Josh first, of course.
So Junior is like usually will text us. He has an alert for like obviously Britney and everyone, so I think he sees like every time she posts, which I don't have that. And so like sometimes he'll text us when stuff happens, and he was just like, "Oh my God, she's noticed," or I don't know what he said. He's like, "She's saying thank you," or we were like, what does this mean? And then
and then it was like a tag. So it was that anime mural that may or may not have been his friend's art, but like it was a tag of Britney's gram. And my first thought was like, okay, maybe she or whoever runs her social media has been like creeping on our page and it auto-filled like Britney Spears, Britney's gram. I'm like, that's pretty crazy because it like means that they've been on our feed, like regardless, or they're looking at our feed. And even that I thought was crazy. And it was just like, was it her? Because I was like, was it her social media person like doing recon on us the day before our podcast launches? But then I was like, but why would you tag? Like nothing about that was making sense.
Yeah, like we didn't realize for at least a few hours that
until
it was
like post. Later in the day.
Yeah, we didn't realize that it was a post we had posted because we were like, I was like, this looks sort of familiar, but I don't know what the hell this is. And then I'm like, oh my God, we posted this. So I don't know. It was so weird because it also felt like, when she would post like a picture of a skeleton key and tag the account she got it from that wasn't the artist, but it was the account. And, it like felt innocent in that way, but it feels like there's no way it could have been this random thing. So I don't know.
But like it was a post of ours from 2 years ago. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing that was so crazy. Yeah. Like someone scrolled pretty deep in our feed and it was such a random post. And it wasn't like a copy and paste. It was like, because I think our original post was what, like nice shot of Britney's son's art or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a repost. It wasn't a traditional repost. It was an intentional post and tag.
Well, it's an extra step to do the tag. So that's the thing, how like it wasn't just like, oh, it was already like somewhere in there. Like someone, like you said, were they thinking they were tagging Britney? Clearly not. They were tagging you, but like they had to physically do that. And I mean, the viral marketing the day before your podcast airs, like bravo you guys. Like
thank you.
When they say viral, this is what they mean.
Like we said, we were
endorsement.
Like, yeah, our original goal on Britney's gram was to get her to repost one of our nice memes that we made, and we're like, this is
pretty cool. What? She fucking nice memed us. Like we got nice memed. What?
And then someone had a theory that like, what if she just got power? What if she just got access to her thing in 3 years and like it's just like it's just accepting the things that she was trying to post back then? But yeah, that was wow. We were already just like in such a crazy place because of trying to put the show out, and that just was like very, very crazy.
And how are you guys? I mean, I love the show. We're obviously big fans, of course, but with everything that's happening, Lisa and I have trouble just organizing. We are still on the same season. We're like 92 episodes in, and we've never refreshed the season. And we thought that we would just never do that until there's like this possibility of going to trial now. And we're like, yeah, that might be season 2.
Yeah.
But for you ladies, like with Toxic, I know that you're trying to tell a story that I assume has some expectation of where you'd like to see it end in the here and now. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and then maybe what might come after, if anything?
Yeah, so I mean, I think part of what we're doing with Toxic is sort of like a forensic analysis of like what happened and how. There was some stuff that just didn't change, that hasn't changed at all. So that stuff, and we've kind of known for a while that Brittany's testimony was coming up and that there probably could be things that have changed. So we've always had sort of like built into the script little areas that were like, okay, this is going to be something that is going to be pending, or we're going to have to wait until this date to figure out what happened. So some of that, and by the way, like we're working with really, really rad producers who are helping us with all of this. Like it's definitely not just Babs and I. So I think that's been part of it. And then also later in the season, we're going to be talking more about sort of like the systemic issues with conservatorship abuse and with the legal system. So that's all stuff that we kind of already had.
You know, that's evergreen.
You know,
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So
Unfortunately.
no, yeah, it obviously depends on what happens, you know, before we finish this 10 episodes. But yeah, I mean, God, knock on wood, I would love it if it had a nice bow as far as like, she's out, baby, you know, that would be amazing. I don't know if we're facing that. It seems like it's gonna be a lot of legal bullshit before that happens. But yeah, we're just, like Tess said, whatever happens, it's been going on the last 13 years, and we're kind of like covering how the fuck did we get here in the first place? And now, like, okay, well, what happens now? How can she get out? So
I also feel like since she's talked, it has just like organically given the show, honestly, a little bit more of a hopeful tone. Because it's like, okay, now I think we can feel her fighting, and there is kind of like, it feels like things are moving and real change is being made. So that has, I think, kind of like, I think started to build us toward the ending that we wanted, and I don't know that we knew we were going to get.
mm-hmm.
I think so. Going back to the Brittany's Graham days and kind of how you first envisioned that versus what it became. So within Free Britney, obviously there's so many branches you can branch off into, and some of them do veer more into the theory world. And obviously the Instagram has been where so many of those theories have really lived. And especially recently, the Cassie Petrie crowd surf part of that conversation has really taken hold. How different do you think Brittany's Graham had been if that was like a really big part of the conversation back in the day?
I mean, you know, I think, like, I'm trying to remember when we started talking on Brittany's Graham about how we were like, did she post this? Because definitely, at first we just took it for face value. And I know around the me time meme, we definitely were like, this isn't her, you know, but I can't remember before that if we were talking about it or not. Yeah, I mean, I think in general, you know, if we just had this idea now, maybe we would do it, but I don't know that we would, just because we're not looking at it as in the fun light, you know, in the same way. So I'm sure that would be a huge part of the conversation. Yeah. If we had decided to do it back then. And yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh, go ahead.
I think that there was one episode where she locked herself out of her house.
I was gonna say that too.
And it was like an early one.
Like gathering clues before you even knew you were gathering clues when it got deleted, when she was walking the dog.
That's right.
And
he's like, I locked myself out. I've got to get back in.
And it got deleted. And we were like, who would be the person that didn't want that information out there? And yes.
Yeah, it was way back. And I only really discovered it after I went back, because I was like, I should really just check like when this really started. And I think that it was like in one of like the first like 4 or 5 episodes that Babs sort of first finds out a little bit more about the conservatorship, because Tess, I think you had known about it, but Babs maybe not so much. And I was like, oh, this is like a time capsule. Like this is almost like it's not like Schadenfreude, but it's like going back and like it's like going back to season 1 and like knowing what's going to happen to the cast of characters.
Right.
Yeah.
I could, the whole time I was just like, they don't even know what's coming.
No idea.
They don't even know about the voicemail. Check your voicemail.
I know, it's weird to think too that voicemail was literally sitting in there for like a week, because we had already used the previous weeks. Like, so crazy.
Yeah. And I also like wasn't even, because like we had put out a episode called The Subject, which is where we were like talking about Andrew Watt, and like that episode we had starting to get more listeners. So from that we had gotten like more voicemails. So the night that I heard that voicemail, I was like, this is good for this episode. And the only reason I listened to it is because it was so much longer than the rest of them. Like I was ready to just like export the file and call it a night. I had my like good night beer ready to go.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I definitely have had, I don't go back and listen to them that much because like listening to your own voice is a nightmare, as I'm sure we all know. But when we have gone back and listened, it's been like, oh shit, like we'll say stuff that I'm like, whoa, we were like very on the money here.
It's really bizarre. I mean, even when we just had the luck of starting the day before you dropped your voicemail episode. And
really? So crazy.
Yeah,
I remember you guys tweeting at us and being like, we're very much on the Free Britney train. We're ready to go. Like you already were like locked and loaded.
Well, we've been talking about it for years, and we actually recorded a bunch of episodes that got scrapped because our mics weren't working and our audio still blows. But yeah, we ended up dropping our first episode that we titled Free Britney, literally within 24 hours, like 24 hours before.
Wow.
And we were just like, we were there the day before, but we're glad that we were there the day before, because otherwise this would have just looked like we came out of like absolute nowhere.
I didn't realize it was called Free Britney. That's like synchronicity. That's crazy. Well, and then do you guys know that Lisa McCarley, like, was on this trip? She was on this scuba diving trip when she had this epiphany that she wanted to like devote her life to reform that same week that we got that voicemail.
Oh my God, it was like in the wavelengths.
Yeah.
Oh. That's wild.
It's really crazy how so much stuff has come together. I think like one of the things that maybe you guys don't get asked enough about is just like more of the fun stuff that made you love Britney. And so like for me, my favorite like piece of Britney media is always Chaotic, just because I feel like that is probably like the most real version of Britney that we've seen in a long time. But I know that we would love to hear like what your favorite, like, I don't know if it's media or performances or what kind of got you to like, be a fan.
God, there's so much. I mean, definitely Chaotic. I think of a lot in Chaotic of the scene where they're stopped at the border and they're clearly stoned. And she's talking about how boring the security guy's job must be. And she goes, at least I get to wear, what did she say? At least I get to wear sexy costumes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm really glad we got to do a dedicated Chaotic section in the Toxic episode today, because we were like very stoked on getting that in there. You know, it's funny because like I was always a Britney fan, but I wasn't like obsessed with Britney growing up. But making this show and over the last few years, it's just made me become an even bigger fan of hers, because like, yeah, there's just that like laid back, fucking funny dork that you just can't help but love, like her laugh, and just she's just so genuine. So it's like I've just watched a million interviews of her now in the past few years where she's just so fun. And like I love when you can tell that she's comfortable with someone, you know, because especially like when she gets a little anxiety during an interview and you're like, oh God, why don't you just like leave her alone or whatever. But then you can tell when she's like, I'm having fun, like I'm with Mario Lopez, who I like, or, you know, someone who she like enjoys being around and she really lets her guard down. I really like just seeing that side of her.
You know who I love is her and NPH. NPH loves her. Like obviously there was the How I Met Your Mother thing, but remember when she was on that prank show with him?
Oh yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And she's like, and again, like this all speaks to like what a fucking triple threat and beyond, right? Because she's so funny. She's really a good actress.
So funny.
When I heard her when she was speaking to Judge Penny and she still made a joke about how she knows she needs therapy sometimes and laughed, it was like I was on a roller coaster of emotions, but at that moment my heart was like lifted, where it was like, oh, she's still there. And I kind of don't know how, based on everything she's been through.
God, exactly. Like I don't know how anyone survives that. And yeah, I mean, I think there was so much about that testimony that was obviously just, you know, one of the most unforgettable moments of my life, really. But that realization, because, you know, like you don't see her talk often on Instagram. Babs and I were looking recently at the feed, and it was like most of the times where she's talking are those weird question and answer videos, you know? So to hear the Britney that we all know and love, like being just so Britney about it was such a triumph. It was great.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, when she said that therapy thing, and then also when she was like, obviously when she interrupted and was like, no, you guys can't do this. And later on, when they were talking about the care plan thing, she's like, yeah, but it has to be a care plan that I approve, because it was not, I was thinking it was just such great proof that she's there. She's fucking paying attention. She didn't just show up and read the thing. She was like very present.
Yes. I like to think about her like wearing her reading glasses, like composing in a notebook with like a pen that has like a marabou tip, and like Ashgari brings her a smoothie.
Or one of her little fancy sandwiches that she gave us the recipe for.
Oh my God, yes. Schlotsky's.
Oh God. Well, I don't know if you guys are comfortable doing this, but we would love if you would go back to your roots and do an analysis of Brittany's post from today, the Maid post.
Let's do it.
To see it. The one that was taken down that had a first caption initially that referenced her testimony and now has a caption of red shoes.
Three red shoes, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's been we did see it when it still had the caption, so I didn't know it had been changed.
The caption referencing her maid being able to get her nails done in COVID and not her. And now that has been deleted. So please give us your illustrious wise thoughts on
well, hold on, let's bring up the old, you want to look at it on the phone to have the ultimate.
That's true.
Well, Lisa, do you want Lisa to give us the original caption?
Yes.
Oh yes, please give us the original caption first.
All right, let me post. Okay, so we have her on the red background, so that feels like a call out as well, wearing a black maid uniform with yellow accents, which also feels like a callback to the blink if and wear yellow if you need her help. But then her caption, or someone's caption on this account, like I said, ... my maids may have been able to get their nails with the nail emoji done during COVID after salons opened, but fuck ... at least my maid outfit was the hottest. Winky face, winky face, winky face. 4 exclamation points.
Wow. It's like weird when you are thinking of the Cassie side because you have to analyze it from both ends. Like if Brittany posted this, we think this. If Cassie posted this.
Okay, but the existence of the first caption to me calls into question whether Cassie had a pass. I don't think that caption would have made it past Cassie.
I don't think so either. But would Brittany have edited it? Or
no, of course not. No. So I think Brittany logged in. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. Like, she knows everyone's paying attention to this hearing tomorrow. We know now how engaged she is with this shit. So she logged on. I do believe, and I have been asked about this recently, but I do believe red is straight up just her talking about being pissed off and wanting to fight. I do think that.
That sounds blunt enough because she's not subtle like that. She never has been. So I feel like
but she is also a color theorist. Like, I would go to an art school and take a color theory class taught by Brittany because colors have a lot of meaning to Brittany. Like, a lot of meaning.
A lot. And the reason I based the red on the anger is because I think it was like a summer and a half ago, she posted like a picture of Hawaii that had like blue means this and white means, and I'm pretty sure she said red means anger in that post.
I think you're right. I think I do remember that.
Because weren't like the refrigerator and the kitten and all that, wasn't that leading up to, because this hearing that she had, she first asked for, or Ingham first asked for it 60 days prior.
Yeah, they delayed. They had to like get it on their
definitely happening before that. Yeah, but
yeah. So I feel like that might have been her like, I'm fucking done, dude. Like, no, I'm coming.
The red fridge
red
was
alert,
before
like red
the
alert.
hearing.
This is your warning.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's her like talking to us, but also like she wants to have like a sense of humor about it. Like, she's still Brittany. Like, she doesn't want,
It's so hard because she doesn't want to be considered a victim, and she fights so hard against that label, and I don't blame her for that.
Totally. And I don't like when people look at her as a victim.
Yeah. And because she's like, I really do mean it when I say I started liking her more when her and Justin broke up and she was out with Colin Farrell. That was when I liked her before that, but it was when Brittany started being more like free that I started connecting with her more and really just loving her attitude and her style. But she is truly one of, like, I never thought Britney Spears, of all things, who you think of when you think of like Pepsi advertising and, you know, this big like polished pop star has somehow become a sign for the resistance and just really like raging against a machine somehow in like a very, like, I think you said punk rock way on your podcast. And that's so true.
I think, yeah, Chris Crocker we interviewed, and I think Chris said punk rock too, which I think is very accurate. And, you know, people don't think that because she's a pop princess and she's blonde and blah, blah, blah. But like you said, as soon as, you know, she's been trying to just be her fucking self and always gotten shit for it. I mean, it's just like, yeah, what's more punk rock than that?
That was the whole issue with the Paps in 2006. I think so much of it was her just even rebelling against that. It was like, I don't fucking care if people are going to follow me around everywhere. I'm still going to go out braless with my hair in a top knot. And like, I'm going to dress up for you people? No.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the like the creepier things that we've heard that somehow hasn't come up in court docs yet, I think, is that like Jamie insisted that she wear a bra all the time. That was like one of his things that he took over during the conservatorship, and that still gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't remember where that came up, but like it tracks. I'll say that much.
Sadly, yeah.
There's some kind of like bra mistress living in your house, making sure you fucking put on a bra every day. What the fuck is going on?
Just to strap her in. Oh, jeez, it doesn't sound that far-fetched.
No.
It's so offensive because like, ew, like bras, are you kidding me? Like,
I think that we always have the tendency to end on like more of a down note, so I'd rather find a way to end this with more of like positivity.
Okay, Babs, go ahead. I do have a positive thought. Clearly, this maid costume was bought for and used as a skit with Sam. I think we're looking at some BTS of a skit.
I like that.
I think we're looking at some behind bedroom doors skit, if you will.
We've heard that there's like a dungeon or something. There was one in one of her houses way back when. Like she just had to have a good time.
That was the Malibu house, I want to say.
Yeah, it was.
If you have that many rooms, one of them better be a dungeon.
Absolutely.
What are you doing?
Yeah, why not?
Well, so I feel like into acting, so maybe that was like helping. Like, you know, the role play is like, you know,
that's true.
After he's done with his acting lessons or acting coach, this is like a way to make
after he's done with his
landing,
whatever protein powder he's peddling this week.
I do hope Sam, like I am desperate for Sam to become a really famous actor.
Oh I'm so here for it.
What is he? I know he's in Black Friday. I've never seen him in anything, so.
He was in Hacks for like 2 seconds. I don't know.
Oh, he was? Oh my God.
Oh my God. I would scream. I would need to be prepared.
I did. I wasn't.
Were you surprised?
He was in it. And I was like, that's Brittany's boyfriend.
It feels like it's someone you know.
No, Sam! Literally. Like, I couldn't believe. I was like, oh my God. I texted Jacqueline right away.
It's funny because I mostly, like, when I think of his voice, that steakhouse skit they did, because I edited a video of it and I saw it so many times that in my head I just hear him go, I think she's really hungry. Like, that's all I can think of.
He does have like a really
of romance, I think, than that.
No.
Yeah. He has such a distinct tone, and it's almost like he's always telling a dad joke. Like, I don't know if there's a tone for that, but yes.
I know, that's why I think they're cute together. Excuse me.
I'm glad that we could end by like sort of talking about Sam and Brittany, because that is one relationship I had a lot of doubts about at some point. I was really concerned, and I think that he's proven himself to the movement.
I agree 100%. And like, you know, they've been able to limit, they have control of his access to Brittany. So I do, to a large extent, understand like why he would feel pressured into silence and not be as vocal as I think some people would want him to be. But it's like, yeah, I think he's really shown his true colors in this past. Like, it started when he popped off to the Paps about Jamie. I was like, okay, you can stay.
Yeah, I mean, you always got that little part of your brain that's like keeping an eye on it. But for the most part, just glad, yeah, she's got some in-person support like that.
Well, before we wrap up, thank you so much for your time. Is there any final things that you want to share? Any Brittany-isms, wisdom that we should ruminate on as we end this episode?
Sure. I'll leave you guys with the Britneyism that I think of when I'm working out or I need encouragement. It comes from a meme, black text, white font. Do epic shit.
Wow.
It's a classic.
Yeah, thank you ladies so much for having us, and just thanks for, I know you guys have like when we got that voicemail, everything just went so nuts and we got so overwhelmed that, we kind of were like, Britney's Gram became hard to keep up. And so I feel like everyone's kind of helped each other carry the movement along. And so thank you guys for being awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. And we're so excited to hear the rest of Toxic. Like Jacqueline said, the first 3 episodes we've listened to multiple times and we are all in, obviously. So we can't wait to hear where it goes.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for listening, guys.
Farewell.